Alright, welcome to Stream and Record Video with OBS, Episode 2, and we're going to discuss what are OBS sources and how do I use them. If you missed Episode 1, it is on our YouTube channel playlist, which is linked in below this video. My name is Dee Thelza. I'm a Digital Services Technician with Richmond Public Library. And with me...
And my name is James. I'm also a Digital Services Technician at Richmond Public Library.
Yeah. Glad you could join me again for this discussion. Alright, so the first thing we were going to talk about is, and let me see if I can pull up OBS in OBS so we can see. All right, James, do you now see the OBS with the audio response and things?
Not yet.
No?
No. And perhaps just for people who might be tuning into this one for if they didn't see the first one, we're talking about OBS, which is a software where you can take many different videos or audio streams from your computer, and you can either record them all together as one, or you can stream it live over something like Twitch or YouTube or Facebook. There we go. Now I can see it.
Okay.
And we are getting smaller and smaller as we go.
We are recording the OBS program from within it, and the little bit with the talking heads is actually inserting another scene on top of that infinite regress, which is actually still going on, but we're just hiding it so we can talk about the bit down below. So you should see the audio input capture, a little green bar bouncing back and forth.
No, it's disappeared again.
It's disappeared. Why? So. Oh, I think I'm covering too much, that's why. We are still learning this as we go. Okay, I see what's going on. Now you can see it.
There we go.
Yeah. I can't cover the whole infinite regress, but there. Kind of, sort of. All right. So now you can see the controls for OBS down here. And so there are two main ones that we're going to talk about in this episode and the next one. This episode we're talking mostly about sources, which is the second box from the left. And if you can't see, the first thing in it says 3 heads and titles, which is a scene that we've set up that mixes James and I, both our heads, onto a background and lays out the title of the episode all together. So all of that mixed into one is that heads and title scene. So we're using that as a source. We have another source called OBS, and we have another source called audio input capture. And all of that was to lead into talking about two of the types of sources, audio input and audio output capture. Oh, and it's not capturing the pop-up box either. Okay, so in OBS, there is this little plus button at the bottom of the sources, and when you press that, you get a pop-up box which is apparently a separate window, so it's not being captured by window capture. And it lists a whole bunch of things: audio input capture, audio output capture, browser, color source, display capture, image slideshow, media source, scene, siphon client, I don't even know what that is, text, VLC video source, video capture device, window capture, and group. So that's a lot of different things that it can do. We're going to go over the main ones. And so audio input capture and audio output capture, both of those are to record audio into your stream or your recorded video, because OBS can do both, streaming and recording video. And the main difference is audio input capture captures from one of the microphones. So either a built-in microphone, a webcam microphone, or a microphone that you plug into your computer like a Yeti. Any of those can be a audio input capture. Audio output capture is capturing the sound from a program or a window. So if we were streaming a game and I had headphones on and the audio from the game was only going through my headphones, we would want to make sure we capture the audio using the audio output capture as a source. So OBS is all about mixing these sources together in the right way to get the results we want. So that's the main difference is audio output capture captures from another program, and audio input capture captures from a device like a microphone. I hope that's clear.
So in a case like what we're doing, for example, would we be using audio input or audio output?
So probably to do this professionally, I would put headphones on and capture the audio output from Zoom. I think what's actually happening right now is I only have an audio input set up, and so the microphone in the computer is capturing your voice from the speaker in the computer, and it's kind of good enough. But we could improve it by using audio output capture and headphones.
Right. So if we were doing it from my end, because I'm wearing headphones, then the other one would be better.
Right, because the microphone in the computer wouldn't have anything to pick up.
That makes complete sense. I've actually used OBS and not recorded any sound, because when I first used it, I wasn't aware of that.
I had a similar problem. I used OBS I think I used it on my Mac, and there is a universal input, audio input, that you can configure in the preferences. And I think it was on by default on the Mac or in an earlier version of OBS. And so I had never added an audio input. It just recorded audio naturally. And I think because people didn't always want that, they moved it or turned it off by default. And so I recorded a whole episode of a show and there was no audio at all because I hadn't added audio inputs. And I have also forgotten, I've added audio inputs to most of my scenes and forgot it in one. And so almost all of the video had audio except like one piece. So it is a little tricky, and you do have to remember to go in and configure the audio inputs for each different.
And when you're first doing this too, I think it's important to remember to do a little test to make sure that you are actually recording both the audio and video, so that you don't do what Deeth and I did and record an entire show and wind up missing one.
Yeah, you can fix some of it with editing, but it's better to get it right before you record a whole show. So that's the audio. Then the next thing we wanted to talk about was video capture. So what do you?
So video capture, we have a couple of options here too. So the video capture device is going to capture video directly from either a built-in webcam or if you have an external webcam hooked up. And the same way that you use your external or internal webcam for for video capture with Zoom or with FaceTime, or even if you're using Teams now with work, it's exactly the same way. It's going to capture that video and create a little box so that you can put it into your into your OBS layout, and and window capture is a little bit different, where it's going to look for a window that you have selected, that you have open. So if you have, for example, a program on a web browser like Chrome or Firefox, and you're wanting to show a website, then you can use window capture to do that, or you can use window capture if you want to capture your windows from a Zoom call and put that into OBS as a source as well. So one uses your webcam, which is window capture, video capture, and then the other one uses any windows that are open, kind of like screen sharing on Zoom, that you choose instead of using your webcam.
Yeah, so right now my head is with video capture and a filter because I have a green screen behind me to filter out the green screen so that I just show up over the background. And then we have two window captures, one for James to bring him in from Zoom, and then he's got a background set in Zoom to kind of blend in. And then we have another window capture to show the titles, because that's actually Libreoffice slideshow to show with the title in it, that also has chroma green as most of the background, and so we treat that like a green screen and filter it out too, so we just get the bar at the bottom. And that makes our titles easy to edit for each episode.
Yeah, because we could do the titles as an image, but then we would have to either create a bunch of images for every show that we've done, or continuously change, that image.
Yeah.
And yeah, this makes it much, much easier.
Yeah, just change the text and away we go.
Yeah. And you mentioned Libreoffice before. If somebody's curious what that is, if they've never used it before, do you want to just give a short explanation of Libreoffice real quick?
Sure, and that's a good idea. I can also put a link below the video. So Libreoffice is a branch of a project called OpenOffice. OpenOffice. It was an effort to create essentially a clone of Microsoft Office that is free and open source. So anyone can not only download and use the program, but they can also download all of the code to make the program and make their own changes, fix a bug, if they're so technically inclined that they would like to do that. And they keep all of their bugs online, all of their issues, and so people who are interested in helping out with the project have a variety of ways of doing that. And OpenOffice has been maintained for quite a number of years now, but it doesn't get updated as often, and there is a separate project, and there have been a few people who've just taken that code and created their own version, and one of those is Libreoffice. Libreoffice tends to get the most support and the fastest fixes now. So it's one of the really big and successful open source projects, along with things like the Firefox web browser and the Linux operating system. And pretty much anything you can do with Microsoft Office, you can also do with LibreOffice, including open Microsoft Office files.
And save them as Microsoft Office files.
And save them as Microsoft Office files and open them with Microsoft Office. So it's a really handy program, especially for folks on a budget, because it is free. And
you can use it for things like OBS.
Yeah. We're using a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of it just to do our titles here. So I actually have a second screen that has the slideshow showing, and I grabbed the window from that to display our titles here in OBS. And then we also have a window to capture window capture to capture OBS itself within OBS. So that's why you can see down at the bottom the sources and the scenes and the audio mixer and a little bit of scene transitions. And on the right are some controls. So we have one that says start recording. We're or actually I guess it says stop recording because we've already started. That's selected. Above it is start streaming because we're not streaming, so it's not selected. And it also has one selected called stop virtual camera. And the virtual camera is something built into OBS now that lets you take all of the output of OBS and send it to other programs, which will treat it as if it were a physical camera. So as if it were a built-in webcam or an external webcam. And so that I'm plugging back into Zoom so James can see what the output of what we're recording is. And yeah, so those are the 4 key, like really important sources. So audio capture, audio input, video capture, and window capture. But there are a lot of others. And I recited a bunch of them earlier, but I think the main ones, at least that we've used, and you can feel free and jump in if I miss something that you've used, James, but there's image capture, which we use to show the background here behind us. Media source, which can show a video or play audio, and we use that for our intro and outro music. And scene. So, and I talked a little bit about scene already, where in addition to using a window or something, we can actually use a collection of sources that have already been packaged together in a scene for OBS. And we will talk more about scenes in our next episode.
Yeah, I've used also the Vlc Video Source, which basically works the same as Media Source, but it's built for Vlc, which is a free open source video player as well. Yeah,
VLC is a very powerful video player that can play all sorts of different formats, most of which aren't, not all of which are supported by whatever video player comes with your operating system generally. So.
Yeah, and actually OBS will save this recording as one of those unsupported video files, which is MKV.
Right.
So it's good to have something like VLC so that you can view it and test it.
Yeah, OBS itself is also an open source program, and MKV. The reason it saves as MKV is it is a non-patent encumbered format. So it is a open format the way these programs are open source. So, there's a pattern emerging here. As a library, we like to support and provide access to programs that everyone can use regardless of their ability to pay. And so we have in the past taught OpenOffice to people so that because everyone can freely and legally download it and use it, and the same with these other open source programs. Cool. All right. So do you have anything else to say about sources?
That's everything. I think for now we've covered, I think, everything we need to cover. And I mean, the only other thing that I would mention is if you are using OBS to stream games, there is also a source for streaming games as well. So you would, depending upon what you're using, you could either use the or the Windows capture to capture it, but you can also use the game capture and just capture it direct.
Have you ever done that?
No. To be honest, it's so easy to use the Windows capture that I just use the Windows capture.
I wonder if, because I do see, there is a little bit of lag when we have your window here. I don't know if that's because this is an older computer I'm recording on, or like the game's capture might just be more optimized to avoid lag.
That's a good question. I know when I did a stream with 5 other people with a D&D game, with Dungeons and Dragons game, and that was also over Zoom, and we didn't have any lag at all.
Okay.
So it's very possible that it's the older computer, not enough memory. Which also brings up the point that if you're wanting to do something like this, you want to make sure that you have a computer that's that's powerful enough to do what you want to do, or just keep it simple.
Yeah. for sure. If you're seeing a lot of lag and it's becoming problematic, you can use fewer sources. You can pre-mix or do editing afterwards. There's lots of different ways you can do it. But if you do have a powerful enough computer for this to work, and this, I mean, we're recording on a Mac. How old are the Macs that we have in the digital services?
I think they're 2016.
Yeah, 2016 iMac. So,
yeah.
And I mean, yeah, we've got a little lag, but it's still, I think, pretty decent. So it doesn't have to be a modern supercomputer gaming system. That's what I'm saying. You can do a lot with a little. And speaking of a lot with a little, I think that is our allotment for this week. So I hope you can all join us next week when we discuss scenes.
All right, thanks for having me on again, Deef.
Yeah, thanks, James, for joining me, and thank you all for watching. And I hope you've learned something interesting out of all of this. We'll see you next time.